Hi, and welcome to the first module of Navigating Computer Systems. In this module, we're going to learn how to set up an environment for developing on Linux. In the module, and every module, there will be an assigned reading, an activity, and a quiz. The assigned reading should be completed, ideally, before you start the activity and quiz. For Module 1, the assigned reading is a little bit longer than the reading for other activities because we just want to give you background in how computers work, how the internet works, because you're going to be connecting to our servers, and you also have to know a little bit about virtual machines and just kind of how our environment works. So there's actually going to be videos in this reading. It's called a reading, but 2 of them are going to be playlists. So the first one, How Computers Work, is split into about 5-minute videos. And the same for the How the Internet Works. These are actually made for high school, I believe. So they're kind of simplistic, but I think they're also kind of fun. So I intentionally grabbed them instead of like a boring just lecture type video or a long Wikipedia page. So if some of it seems kind of basic, no worries, just go with it. It's a good refresher either way. And I know a lot of people, this material will be new, so maybe it won't be basic. The second set of reading assignments are going to be articles. So you're going to learn about what a virtual machine is and look at virtual machine technology. The third portion here, the Linux user guide, is going to be a PDF that we provide to you for free. It's just a guide that some of the instructors here at Boise State put together that gives some useful information about our computing system in particular and some of the things that we want you to know about the command line. The next part of the module is going to be the activity. So this is where you're actually going to apply what you read about in the reading. The activity is broken into 4 parts. In part 1, you're going to spend a lot of time downloading and installing software. So your goal is to import the Linux, and we're using the Ubuntu version of Linux, virtual machine. In part 2, you're going to explore Linux user management by adding a user to this new operating system, this new Linux machine. In part 3, we're going to show you how to create what's called a snapshot of this virtual machine so that you have a fresh state to roll back to if in future modules you happen to mess up the operating system somehow because we're having you maybe mount hard drives and things like that. In part 4, you're going to explore just basic networking concepts. So we're going to look at IP addresses, DNS, and how to use SSH to connect to our servers. So as I said, in part 1, you're going to first download and install VMware software. I'm going to show you what VMware software looks like. It's called virtualization software. In just a second, I'll pull mine up so you have an idea of what I'm talking about here. After you install the software, you're going to download and import our Linux operating system image, it's called. So we actually have an operating system that's built for you. Your goal is to just basically import or install that operating system onto this virtualization software. After you have our image or our operating system installed on your computer, then you're going to customize it a little bit to kind of make it your own and install additional software. Now let's take a minute to look at what I'm talking about when I say VMware software or virtualization software or VM image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my operating system here. I'm running this video on my Mac. The concept though will be the same on Windows and Mac. When I actually created videos for downloading and installing the software, I did the process on both Windows and the Mac. So Windows users, you're not going to miss out because I made videos for both. So with this one, I'm just going to show it on a Mac though, because that's what I have here. So I have what's called VMware Fusion. This is my virtualization software. This is just a program that I installed on my machine. And when I open it, I can see here that I actually have multiple operating systems installed on my Mac OS, my Mac operating system, which is really powerful. It's really cool. So if I'm working on my Mac and I say, hey, I need to do something in Microsoft Word or something specific to Linux, I can just open up this virtual machine that has Windows on it, and I can have a Windows machine right here on my computer. So the operating system that you guys are going to be installing We call it Boise State Budgie. It's really just an Ubuntu distribution of Linux. So in the labs at the school, we're running what's called Red Hat. There's also Fedora, CentOS, there's Mint. There are many, many Linux distributions that people write for different purposes. We chose to use Ubuntu because that's usually a good version for just everyday users like you guys. So here, Boise State Budgie, this is an operating system that I have installed on my Mac using this virtualization software. So if I run this, I double-clicked on it. It says it's restoring my virtual machine state. It's actually going to be running now. It's like I'm sitting at a machine that has Linux installed on it. And I can use my terminal and do everything I would on this operating system and still have my existing operating system, my Mac, available to me that I can go back and forth to. So that's what a virtual machine is. It's a machine that's running virtually on your host system or your base operating system. One thing that I do want to mention now, just in case I don't mention it in future videos, is that some of the look and feel, I guess, or what the console looks like, is going to be different across Linux distributions. So if you are a computer science student and you've taken a class here before, you may have done work in what's called the console, like with a K, console, in the labs. This distribution of Linux, it's called Tilix, and the terminal is going to look different, but the commands will actually be the same. So the videos for modules 2, 3, 4, and 5 are actually all completed on a different distribution of Linux, and I chose not to redo them because really everything's done in a terminal. So a terminal is a terminal. So anywhere that I'm using console, you'll notice in future modules, you're going to be using this other Tilix console. So just keep that in mind. Even though my operating system in future videos looks different, everything we're doing in this course is unaffected by just how that looks. So if that doesn't make sense and you get to it and you're still confused, just reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction of what I mean there. So another thing is I want to make sure that you do not procrastinate in this scenario, because this part 1 is going to take a long time to complete just because you're going to spend a lot of time waiting for software to download. So the VMware software is a pretty large, I believe it was 2-3 gigabytes. The Linux operating system image is about 5 gigabytes to download. So just downloading alone could take several hours. So start early, just get the software downloaded and installed. That way you're not at the end of week 2, this module is 2 weeks long, just waiting for things to download and then you run out of time just because your internet speed is not fast enough. Okay. All right, so after you complete part 1 and you get your virtual machine up and running, you're going to go to part 2, which is Linux user management. So you're just going to add new users to this existing operating system just to give you experience using or adding user utilities. Add user utilities. After that, you're going to take what's called a snapshot of your virtual machine. Snapshots are awesome because if you happen to mess up your virtual machine later in this class, you can roll back to the version that you freshly installed. Okay, and I have seen in the past teaching this course, in I think it's module 3, there is potential that if you don't follow the directions correctly, that you could lose your entire hard drive on your virtual machine. So this is awesome to have this snapshot just as a backup in case something goes wrong. Then after that, we're just going to go through some basic networking. So mostly IP addresses and DNS that you'll read about in the reading or watching those videos. And we're also going to show you how to connect to our Onyx server that you'll read about in the reading. You may have done this if you have taken a course here before, but I know several people in this course have not taken this class. So knowing how to contact our server and how that process works is going to be super important. And finally, when you're done with the activity and you have already completed the pre-reading, there's going to be a module quiz. So just a reminder, don't forget to take the quiz and do complete the pre-reading and the activity. Some of the material will come from the activity that you complete. Some of the material will come directly from the reading assignments that you may not have a chance to explore in the activities just because there's a little more content. Also a reminder, as it says in the syllabus, you can take the quiz twice. So if you don't like your score the first time, you have a chance to redo that for an improved score. I'll use the best out of 2. So even if you do worse, you still get the better score. And that's it for Module 1. Good luck, and don't forget to start early.